Hey guys, hello again. In this video series we will be working with React hooks. React hooks were a recent addition to the React family, and we'll go through a demo as usual, and I will argue the case for React hooks in this video. The series itself will be quite short. I don't see anything to cover in introducing hooks or hooks at a glance. Using the state hook, there is something to cover there. Same case with the effect hook, rules of hooks, building your own hooks. Okay, so we're going to be doing part 3, 4, 5 and 6. You can read the API reference by yourself. Same applies to hooks FAQs. Okay, now as usual, let's get started with creating an empty React project. npx create react app. Then we'll call this react-hooks. This process should be fast. Come on. Oh, this is super fast. Okay, it's taking longer than expected. Come on. Okay, I'm going to stop the oh wow, okay. That did finish rather fast. Okay. Rather quickly. Apologies on the grammatical mistake. Okay, we cd into React hooks. Good. And we do code space period. This should open up VS Code. And there we have VS Code. Just to make sure everything's working as expected, we will run our typical command, npm run start. This should start the application. This should also not take a lot of time. Okay, it got open on the screen. Come on. Okay, this is the app. This should also not be a surprise. As far as this video series is concerned, I'm expecting that you guys have some prior knowledge working with React. If you have no prior knowledge of React, this will be pretty hard to follow along, so I strongly urge you to get some knowledge/experience before you watch this video series. We're gonna get rid of this stuff because we don't need it. We're not going to be using app anymore, so we don't need it. Given that we won't be using app, let's get rid of these files. Delete. Yep, move to trash. Index.css, I don't want this nonsense either. Get rid of it. Good. We'll leave these comments over here because they're causing no harm. And we'll start with a traditional React class, and hell, we'll call it traditional React class. Extends react.component. So far so good, no surprises. Render, return, open a div, a new, this, we'll call this traditional React class. Okay, and I haven't quite seen how it renders yet, but I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna like it, so I'll start with a bit of padding. Let's go. Okay. Alt tab, refresh. Okay. Oh, of course, I never quite put it into my app. Close tag, alt tab. Okay, traditional React class. Bingo. Okay, now let's do something with this. Let's create a button, and we'll call this hit me! Exclamation point. Beautiful. Now when this button is hit, refresh. Okay, beautiful. Nothing happens, of course. Now when this button is hit, we want a particular variable to be updated, right? So we store that variable in the state, and to do so we have to start with the constructor, and we're going to do this dot state equal to count 0. This variable is going to track how many times the particular button was hit, and we're going to print it over here. P, the below button was hit. Sorry, I don't know why it came out Australian. This dot state dot count. Okay, this is good. Next. Let's keep the code clean, so line breaks were appropriate. Now what are we missing? Refresh. It's not updating, of course, because we haven't assigned a click handler yet. So on click equal to this dot button click handler. Perfect. Now let's create a function with the same name. This should be a class method. The argument here is going to be the event. Sure, we won't use the event, but in order to stop the linter from whining, we will log the event, and we'll also log the description of the log statement. Button click event. Perfect. And we will set the state here. This dot set state count. This dot state dot count +1. Okay, this in my opinion should make everything click. Refresh, hit the button, changes to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. Okay, now let's review what we've done so far. We have an element that is 4 lines long, starts on line 24, ends on line 27. 4 lines. What kind of React component would you usually use in a situation like this? You would typically work with React component, not an entire React class, right? But there's a problem. You don't work with a standalone component, you work with a React class in a case like this because you are using the state property. So if there was a way for you to use a React component yet have access to a React functional component and yet have access to state, you most likely would use it, right? And that's essentially what why did this thing come up here? I don't care. Okay, that's essentially what React hooks are meant to do. And let's see a demonstration of it, because I'm not a man of many words. We will create a functional component like so. We will call this React hook component. This takes in no props, similar to our class. We are trying to recreate the class, but inside a functional component, and we will return this whole chunk, and instead of rendering our traditional React class, we're going to render our newly created functional component. Okay, now back to my Chrome. Hey, get out. My Chrome. Yep, my Chrome's here. It's whining. It says cannot read property state of undefined. Okay, no problem. So we are using state here. How do we fix it? Using hooks. Cons count set count equal to use state 0. There seems to be a compilation error. That's because useState is nowhere to be found. useState is something we have to import from React. Now that we have that out of the way, okay. Now let's dive into a little bit of. Let's try to break down what's going on here. There's a whole lot of stuff going on here. Line 34. If you're not familiar with React hooks, this is quite intimidating, right? So what's going on here? useState takes one argument. The argument it takes is the initial value for the initial value for the state property that's returned. useState returns an array of two elements. The first element will be state property. This is not the correct nomenclature, but for the sake of understanding what's going on, we'll call this a state property. The second argument is a state property setting method, right? These are the two variables returned when you call useState, right? The argument you pass is the initial value for the state property. In this case, count will be our state property. Set count will be our state property setting method, right? And we're almost done. In order to access a state property, you don't have to do this dot state anymore. You just call the property by its name, like so. Look at line 40. And in order to change the state property value, you call the set count function. Set count plus 1. There's an extra parentheses. Okay, and I think this should work. Hit me, hit me, hit me, hit me. Okay, this is beautiful. This is beautiful, isn't it? Now let's try to compare the difference, right? This React hook component starts in line 32, ends in line 42. That's 11 lines total. This guy begins in line 5, ends in line 30. That's 26 lines in total. But I hear you thinking, hey, you're cheating. You don't have to put these log statements in. I agree. The state was set in line for the React hook component. But you know what? I don't have a similar thing to do for the class component. Why? Because the class component will need a click handler that has the state bound to the click handler. The only way I can accomplish that is by using the arrow function for a class method, or I can do something like this. This dot button click handler equal to this dot button click handler dot bind. This particular line number 12, is a crucial line because that is the line that gives me access to the state inside the click handler. Given that I need to run a line like this, I don't have an option but to reference a non-inline function in line 25. So by its very nature, a traditional React class is going to have many more lines of code, and it doesn't lend itself to very small components whose entire view could be rendered in all of 4 lines. An entire class makes for very messy code, and that was one of the primary motivations for introducing React hooks. It gives functional components that are used for small view elements access to state. And that's it for the introduction. I'll see you all in the next video.